Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 40-something, 50-something call of the Amazon Investor Coalition. This is a weekly call and podcast series dedicated to advancing forest-friendly economic development across the Amazon region of South America. That means economic development and the rule of law. We are a program of Nexus and the Global Governance Philanthropy Network. We started about a year ago out of a declaration from the United Nations 75 Global Governance Forum to figure out how to stabilize the Amazon using the tools of investing in philanthropy. This week, we are featuring the extraordinary work of Mariano Sinamo, who has a history helping to build the partnership platform for the Amazon, along with USAID, as well as IDESAM, which he's going to be telling us more about, and this new investment fund / impact business accelerator called Amaz. Mariano is going to share with us a brief presentation, and then I'm going to be peppering him with some questions, and then it's all up to you guys. After my questions, you're invited to post your questions in the chat, to raise your hand, and it'll be a free-flowing conversation. We're going to go to the top of the hour, and then we go into what's called water cooler time, where there's unstructured conversation. Mariano may or may not stay on, but we're going to leave the chat room open, and other people are allowed to shamelessly plug themselves and their efforts related to the Amazon. So, Mariano, the microphone is yours. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and feel free to get into the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Jonah. I didn't prepare a presentation. I understood it would be more productive to make it as an informal roundtable. So I see many people that are active in this field. So perhaps we can go. I'll just speak briefly what we do and some of my thinking and concerns about the current situation in the Amazon and in the impact businesses ecosystem. And perhaps I can share some slides of the recent results of our call for impact businesses with Amaz. It's great to be here. I am a forest engineer, originally from São Paulo. I moved to Manaus right after finishing my studies to found IDESAM. IDESAM is a non-profit organization based in Manaus, capital of Amazonas state. In a nutshell, our mission is to reconcile forest conservation with social and economic development in the Amazon region of Brazil. And Amaz is an impact business accelerator that was found together with a group of partners and investors, and many of them actually. It was a kind of a spin-off from the PPA, which is the Partners Platform for the Amazon, which I think has been presented here in the past, that I also founded together with USAID and a group of companies that work in the Brazilian Amazon. So after 3 years in pilot phase, we decided to launch Amaz as a proper accelerator because we understood that we needed more a long-term commitment and a long-term framework operation to dedicate properly to the businesses that we were supporting. So it's different than a traditional acceleration program. It's more like a tech accelerator type of structure. Our goal in the next 5 years is to search, invest, and support 30 startups that have relevant impact in the Amazon's economy. So that will happen in 5 rounds or 5 calls. And the first call we just finished. So it was an open call for entrepreneurs and innovative startups dedicated to solve relevant social and economic and environmental problems in the region. And after the 5 years, we'll keep working with these startups for another 5. So we have a 10-year estimated lifespan for this first fund. It's a blended finance fund, which is funded half by, it's a 25 million reais fund, roughly $5 million. Half of this is philanthropic investments, and the other half is private investors. So our target is to protect 5 million hectares of forests and generate sustainable livelihoods for 10,000 families in the region through the startups that we hope to build in our portfolio. Some supply chains and businesses that we look around acai, around sustainable timber, agroforestry products like cocoa, oils, nuts, and services like finance, tourism, environmental services, logistics, marketing, and others. So this is the type of the business we're looking for. Before going into details about Amaz, I like to start always saying that there is no silver bullet. People tend to present simple solutions for complex problems, and I believe that is simply impossible. So when we look at the Amazon, let's focus only in the Brazilian Amazon. There's a part of the whole Amazon across all the countries that have the Amazon as part of their territories. Only in the Brazilian Amazon, we have so many differences between the states, between the cities, between the territories, that there is no silver bullet to solve the problems. And it's great to see, Jonah, you and many others bringing the investor side, the investor dynamics, the investor point of view to solve deforestation in the Amazon, for example, because this is something very, very new. It has not, I mean, investors, companies, businesses have not been part of the solution agenda for the Amazon in the past. And it's great to see that happening now. And I strongly believe that's almost 100% of my time is now dedicated to this side of the agenda. But we are facing a terrible moment in Brazil right now. And at the short term, it's really important to not forget the need to a stronger command and control policy all across the federal government, the states government, and the role that NGOs like IDESAN play in that space is very important and is being very threatened. So just to put a disclaimer here that we tend to see very optimistically, okay, now businesses are going to solve it all, but it's not. So it's just to keep a reminder that we really need to strengthen this agenda, and yeah, without that we won't get results in the short term. But if we don't look at the long term, which is what we are doing when you look for businesses that are going to deliver a new economy, hopefully for the region, then we reconcile both terms, and that's very important. So as I was saying, it's been bad times in Brazil, difficult times in Brazil. Our economy is not going well. We have the COVID situation. The governments are, almost all of them in the region, collapsed with COVID, so they had to dedicate all resources to health, public security, education, and the environmental agenda has definitely been put out of the table of priorities. And that's why deforestation is picking up very rapidly again. So last year we had the worst, the highest deforestation in the last 10 years, an area 7 times larger than the city of São Paulo, which is the biggest city in Brazil, and I think one of the 5 biggest in the world. And this year, unfortunately, is going to follow the same pace. So Amazon just released today a report showing that deforestation has already increased more than it's going to be worse. And why is it so difficult to stop deforestation? The answer, I'm trying to make it simple, and it's not that simple, but it's majorly economic. It is difficult to put value in standing tropical forests. With very few exceptions and pilot projects, standing forests do not generate jobs, taxes, prosperity. And that happened in the developed world and is going to happen in the developing world if we do not change. So when we look at the numbers for Brazil, for example, that gets very clear. The Amazon region responds to 60% of our territory, the Amazon, the legal Brazilian Amazon. But it generates only 8% of our economy, of our GDP, our gross domestic product. So in general, these forest areas, they don't play a major role from a financial point of view. And it has changed a bit for Brazil, fortunately for us that believe that the standing forest could play a major role. When Brazil started to have very, very bad impact and bad reputation and its diplomatic and international trading relationships. So when the world says sends a signal that when deforestation in the Amazon raises, Brazil is not more a very good seller. It starts playing a role in our major economy and in other regions as well. So there's no other way. We need a new economy for the region. We need a forest-based economy that can promote prosperity, create jobs, and make the region rich. And that's not easy because there is no benchmark. If you look at other countries and other regions, you won't find that place. So that's what we are looking for. It's a very tough mission, but I believe it's possible because there's a new generation now that is very concerned with the clothes they wear, with the food they eat, and where they put the money as well. So probably, I believe Jonah has discussed this before. There's new generations are concerned about where are their fortunes, their money being put. I hope that this new generation, like the Greta Thunberg generation, will not accept that the money of their families, their personal wealth, is invested in companies that make bad to our planet. And hopefully they will not only do that, but they will also take care that the money is invested in businesses that will provide solutions for the social and environmental problems we are facing. It's all across the board. So inequity and environmental destruction, pollution, and all of that. So when we look at that, I hope there's a good pack of incentives coming for the region, and I believe it's going to be the major difference for Brazil. I think it's Brazil has a role in the world's economy, in the world. If Brazil wants to be relevant in the world economic agenda, it has to be because it found a way to grow in terms of production, to improve our people's lives, but protecting the Amazon forest. I'll stay with that, Jonah. Maybe we go to a round of discussions and I can present some of the results of our call, if you wish.
Great. Yeah, feel free to go ahead and prepare those slides. I'm going to go ahead and come in with a couple of questions. So you have been raising money for investments in a portfolio of organizations. How much did you raise or are you raising? And what are the ticket sizes for investments? And then what are the vehicles? Is it debt or equity or something else?
Yeah, let me, I'll present. I have some.
Great. Yeah, you should be able to share the screen.
Okay, let me try. Sometimes it doesn't go through. Let's see. Okay, can you see it now?
Yeah, it looks good.
and it's in Portuguese. Sorry, I didn't have time to translate.
No
But
worries.
yeah, so the fund, Amaz fund, as I said, is composed by a series of philanthropic investors, and here 5 of them. So it's 25 million reais fund, which is roughly 5 million US dollars fund. So half of it is provided as grants by X, Fundo Vale, Humanize, Good Energies, and Fundo JBS pela Amazônia. And the private side as a loan, so as investors, we have a group of people and institutions like the ones I'm showing here. So the fundraising stage has finished. So the fund is already closed. We are not raising funds anymore. And the way we invested, it's through, as I said, it's 5 cycles or 5 calls where we get startups submissions, and then the call stays open for 1 month. Then we have 4 months of a due diligence or a screening process, and during this period we get to a final stage of 12 startups. That's the stage we are right now, selecting the final 12 startups that will gonna join us for 1 month of what we call the natural selection, which is 1 month of intensive process of building impact thesis, redesigning the structure of the business, and developing the indicators that we use to monitor social, environmental, and financial performance. And out of this, after this 1 month of living together, of staying together, where we know more the entrepreneur and his team, we have a final demo day or a Shark Tank where we're gonna select the 6 of them, which will get the first investment, their first check, which is a check of 2,000 reais, roughly 40,000 US dollars. And then they go for the acceleration cycle, which is a 6 months period of more intensive support and involves a lot of equity-free investment. So the first investment is related to is made as convertible notes, which we want to convert. So it's gonna be paid in exchange of some equity of the company. Then we go for the acceleration cycle, where we provide financial, legal, marketing support. There are series of on-demand workshops where we build capacity together with entrepreneurs, depending on their needs, that were all designed during the selection process. And after 6 months, we may do a follow-up investment of up to 400,000 reais. So in total, we want to invest at most 600,000 reais, roughly $150,000. And the tickets are low because we're looking for really early stage startups. That's what we see as the missing middle. So we have a lot of support for for philanthropic institutions for projects, but we don't have, and we have a lot of impact investment or venture capital funds willing to invest larger tickets, but there's no pipeline building currently for social, or there's a very few institutions dedicated to build a pipeline for these businesses in the early stage. So our goal is to prepare these startups for these funds that will come with $500,000, $1 million to invest, and then we keep together. We stay together with the startup for all the period until the exit. We have a maximum time of staying of 5 years to stay invested in the company, and our way of work is really hands-on. So it's not it's not doing monitoring of the business with spreadsheets. Really work together with the entrepreneurs to develop the business together with them. So some calls of our calls. So this year's call, we got more than 2,800 views. in our page. So we have a dedicated page, own dedicated page where interests where startups in the call can submit their applications. And we had a total of more than 200 startups applicating, but only 156 went to the final screen. So we're so complied with all the information we needed. They were all across Brazil, so it doesn't need to be. Most of them came from the Amazon region, especially from Amazonas and Pará, but many startups came from other states in Brazil, and that's not a problem as far as they generate jobs, they generate income. The impact of their businesses are in the Amazon region. And we have a lot of graphs here. I won't go into all of them. So some of the areas, so fish, a lot of dedicated to acai and palm trees and crafts and nuts. Tourism is another area with major interest and a lot of potential. That's interesting. More than half of the businesses are led by women or non-white people. So that's part of our lens. We wanted to get this representation in the businesses. Many of them, it's a very diverse type of businesses. So we had very small companies. We have a bit of medium to large companies. We had associations and cooperatives. So it's very diverse. We can work with a diverse type of, institutions that run the businesses. In terms of the stage, most of them were in early stage. So that's where we're looking, and they're organizing the businesses and preparing for traction. Yeah, I think that's all, Jonah. I won't stay longer with the graphs. So I go back to you or to other questions.
Great. I'm going to ask one or two more questions and then we'll open it up. So you have a long-running experience in the Amazon region, building accelerators, building the sustainable economy. Are there particular local regulations or even national or state level policy changes that you would recommend that foreign investors and companies might be able to help with, that would make it easier to invest in the Amazon region or simply to operate a business in the Amazon region? I think you froze.
It's hard to operate.
You're back. Go ahead.
It's a tough question. Yeah, it's a tough question. I'm afraid it's hard for anyone. It doesn't need to be a foreigner. It's hard for a Brazilian, for someone from Amazonas. I mean, from locals, it's hard to be successful in launching a business in the region as an entrepreneur in any business. It doesn't need to be an impact business, okay? I mean, the amounts of bureaucracy and illegal activities that are engaged or they are related to deforestation related activities is huge. So it's going to be hard, even in the cities. I mean, informal businesses in the city are going to face regulations, but we're not dedicated to change the rules. I mean, we are looking for the ones that are really brave and committed to find the space, even in the crazy and most difficult regulatory frameworks that we have. So, I mean, there are important work that other organizations are doing to make the regulatory framework more attractive. We actually had 2 weeks ago, it was approved, a new regulatory framework for startups. That is good. It's really good. It's very good for, makes our life much easier. It's good for accelerators, it's good for investors, it's good for entrepreneurs. So I suggest that someone is interested, you can Google it. You're going to see the new framework for startups. So I just don't want to I just don't want to leave the message that okay, the regulatory framework is too complex, don't come, because I don't think I think that's not the point. And sorry if I dodged the question, but I think it really shouldn't be the focus.
Understood. Two quick questions to answer my own question, just to give people here advice. One, foreigners can bring more ecotourism to the region, obviously. And then the internationalization of the Brazilian carbon markets is another thing that would make all these businesses have a stronger line to profitability. Okay, now we're opening it up. First up is from Marina Campos from Connexus.
Hey, Mariano, how are you? It's, you know, I'm a big enthusiastic of your work, and especially now what you're doing at Amaz. I came in a bit late, so my apologies if I missed something, but I think I came when you're presenting what is the impact that you hope to get by supporting all these entrepreneurships. And if I didn't get it wrong, you said something like a percentage or a certain numbers of hectares that you believe it's the impact of investing this. How did you get to the calculation? If you just could explain a little bit more, how do you, because what it has been really hard for a lot of people is, it is a premise, right? That by investing in community forest businesses or the businesses you are mentioning, we will keep the forest standing. But it's been really hard for a lot of folks to calculate what the impact has been. So if you could just say a little bit about that, I would appreciate. Thank you.
Legal. Oi, Maite. Sure. Let's go to the calculations. So I forgot to mention that during our, let's say, pilot phase, as the acceleration program at PPA, before we spin off to Amaz, we invested in 12 startups or 12 small businesses. And I use the general term startups because everyone in the investment side understands better, but there was associations, cooperatives, and some of our investments were made even in NGOs that were spinning off their companies. But in this period, we did a lot of work in designing the business's impact thesis and monitoring and evaluation plans. So that's where that was our kind of school in terms of setting up these goals. And based on the work, and we did on purpose invested in many different types of businesses, from tourism to technology companies, logistics. I mean, the traditional ones like Maniocas and Nacau and Demendes type of businesses that buy a forest product and sell, buy a raw product like cocoa and sell a chocolate bar with social and environmental impact. So doing this mix, we calculated the average. So three indicators are the ones that care most for us. One is the number of families that are benefited with sustainable livelihoods. So a business to be invested by us must provide sustainable livelihood to communities. So it's, I mean, it's not good. It's not very interesting for us if we invest in a company that, okay, can generate jobs and can plant a huge area of native forest if they do not engage local communities, because there's a huge leak, in our view, there's a huge risk that these communities that are not engaged will continue to chop down the forest. So deforestation will continue. So we need to engage these communities in the businesses. So that's number one. And number two is that they need to either reforest an area of degraded land or protect an area of forest. And ideally, that area will be protected by the communities that source products, for example, or source services. So the 5 million hectares that is our goal for the investment that we are going to make with this fund was calculated as an average that we did, and perhaps if you want, I can go with spreadsheets together with you and show the numbers. So it's an average of the impact that the first batch of 12 startups that we invested in the past generated.
Great. Marina, did you want to follow up, or was that good?
That's good. Thank you.
Okay, great. Next up, Maria. I think you're on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Great. I'm sorry I can turn on my camera right now, but I was I love the presentation, and I think we would have a lot of opportunities to discuss mainly about the acai initiatives that you're taking into consideration, because the ASL program, the Brazilian project, actually is working with acai value chains. So it's really interesting if we could like have a follow-up maybe later. I will look into the webpage that Jonah kindly shared. But I was also wondering, are you maybe thinking to expand this initiative to other countries, to other Amazon countries? And also, how are you planning to monitor the initiatives, finance it, to accomplish the environmental objectives and yeah, that you are having? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Maria. So number one, no, we are not planning to expand to any other country. We want to stay small at beginning, so keep really focused on this to get this first fund working and working well. Again, is much more than just deploying money. Our way of working with the startups that we engage in the portfolio is hands-on. Again, as I said, so it's a very intensive work to get their businesses working and delivering social and environmental positive impact. So there's no plan of expansion, at least not right now. And the monitoring, as I said, there was a huge work in the first stages of the PPA acceleration program, where we developed a framework for monitoring social and environmental indicators. They are not all the same, so there's a common framework which was actually adapted from our initial funder, which was USAID. So we got a list of indicators that was important from our philanthropic an adaptation to the businesses, because not all the businesses delivered impact in whatever communities. Some of them work more with small farmers. So not all of them work with forest conservation. Some of them work with forest restoration. So we did an adaptation. So it's a flexible framework, a list of indicators that we apply together with the startups at the beginning of the program. So the first activity of the program is to develop together with the entrepreneur their impact thesis and the monitoring evaluation plan that will be followed all across the time we stay together until they pay back their investments or we sell our equity and give our exits. So it's a very collaboratory and adaptive work that we do.
Great. Next up is Fiona Bannister.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And, you know, I like to hear that the expansion from that mindset, from being in microfinance for a long time, that USAID, and how do we bring it more grounded into the work that you're doing and to the communities that need this outreach. So my question comes to how to collaborate on the inclusion of communities and developing ecosystem services, structuring formats, or let's call it project thesis that you've seen that has been successful, so that it can make more sustainable, longer term impact projects. As somebody who's already invested and worked on different forest regenerative models, we know some of them are, the essence of multi-species, multiculturalism, adaptivity of it being able to be in a community. It's different from one to the next. And so you will be using different measurement tools. And how do we build, see their growth? And I speak this this morning, having a long conversation with a community up in Brazil, and their questions are super deep about what their community needs. How do we address what they feel is there comparative to what our Western mind or the finding of funding models is? Thank you.
Go for it, Mariano.
Thanks, Fiona. Not sure if I have a proper answer. I may just say that it is indeed very important that, I mean, it's a whole pipeline. We see it as a pipeline. So our feeling is that, and we had to make a choice to focus in a specific part of this pipeline, which is projects that have evolved to companies, and that's where we come in. I mean, IDESAM, my organization, works with projects and communities on the ground, and we prepare them to financial sustainability, if we call it that. That may not be evolving to a startup or to an impact business that will attract money from investors. May follow a different path, but one area that we do miss a lot, and at least from our perspective, working in I mean, sustainable value chains or forest value chains in the Amazon for the last almost 20 years, is that most, and that is if I may, auto-critics to our own work as an NGO, is that most of our work with these communities have not been creative enough. I mean, we've been the basic model, at least when I started working in the Amazon, right after finishing my undergrad studies, was, okay, we gotta empower communities, community associations, I mean, to be entrepreneurs. They gotta do the whole thing. They gotta do the cash flow. Let's make very high quality courses. So they will do the cash flow. They will issue the documents that are needed. They will get the licenses. And that was wrong, because many communities, they get scared with that. They don't want to do that. Maybe some of them, they just want to keep planting or harvesting. And we gotta, my feeling is that we gotta be more creative and provide these structures, kind of a back office type of structure, to make these institutions, either association, cooperative, or startup or whatever, work, but not necessarily, I mean, putting a burden in the leader of the association to be an entrepreneur, because it's hard doing financial. I don't know how many in this room are good with financials, like doing the cash flow every month and accounting for sales and dealing with the taxes. I mean, how, if the answer is not, how come we try to impose that for a community? Okay, if you want to be a financial sustainable good product, you gotta be a good entrepreneur. So I wouldn't follow that path. I don't have a one answer, but I think the answer should be, we gotta be more creative. We gotta provide better structures for these value chains to work, thinking out of the box sometimes.
Great, thanks for that. Next up is Amy Kokenauer.
Hi, Mariano. It's been a really good. Hi.
Sorry, Amy. Just to, Jonah, I don't know who is making the question. So if everyone can present itself before doing the question, that would be very helpful.
Of course.
Great idea.
It's been great. It's been a great conversation, Mariano. I really like what you have to say, and also the way that you're saying it. I appreciate it. I'm Amy Kokenauer. I'm the CEO of Cadasta Foundation. We focus on advancing and strengthening land and resource rights globally. And so we're really, always concerned about this question of environmental, social, and governance indicators that ensure due diligence around territorial and community land and resource rights. So my question is, in these projects and the due diligence and sort of the process on some of the environmental and social indicators that you looked at, what type of data or documentation or assurances were there, if any, around the issue of land ownership, maybe not the word ownership in the context of the Amazon, but territorial rights, ensuring that those businesses had the rights, the legitimate rights to use the land, et cetera. I'm just curious about all of that piece of it, because what we find is that often gets left out in business related and supply chain projects. And there are a lot of companies that are sort of trying to like backtrack a little bit and focus on that issue as a foundational issue that contributes to sustainability or not of those supply chains and the transparency aspect of it. So thanks.
Thanks, Amy, for the question. It's indeed a very, very complicated and critical aspect of due diligence, because I believe, I don't know if there's a word in English, forma de bola. I mean, there's no streamlined way of doing it, because sometimes, yeah, the businesses are different. So it's, I would say that we don't have a one, I mean, structured methodology to identify that. I mean, if you go for a tourism startup, I mean, the way you're going to assess if they are doing a good deal, let's say a tourism company that is based in community-based tourism. I mean, the way you assess if they are doing a good work in sharing benefits to communities, it's different than the way you're going to assess, let's say, an acai buying company that sources its acai from communities. So it's a different protocols, different documents. So I'm not sure if I can answer your question, like go and look at this document or this contract. The way we do it is always looking for formal documents. So if there is a relationship of buying and selling or hiring services from the communities, if they relate that if they report that they relate to one community and a community relationship is an important part of their impact thesis, we always want to see contracts. We want to see formal documents signed. Of course, that doesn't guarantee. And then we go to the field, and a good part of running Amaz as part of e-Design experience, because we have a long track record working in the region, is that we have a huge network of partners. So it's very hard that we find businesses in our call that is completely unknown for us. So have a peer. Do you know? I mean, I know you know well this territory. Do you know this company? How good is the relationship with communities? So I would say that is not probably a scientific or whatever a methodologically structured way of doing due diligence, but we do it a lot. A very important part of our due diligence is to look for peers or partner institutions that can give a third-party recommendation of the business.
Great, thanks. Next up is Matt Levine and then David Rothschild. And just a reminder to introduce you guys yourselves when beginning your question. Go ahead, Max.
Hi, Mariano. Max Levine. Introduced myself at the top of the hour, but I'm principal at CEA Consulting and work with foundations here in the US and increasingly with impact investors to help them identify good opportunities to advance conservation priorities and fight climate change with their grant making and investment dollars. You had mentioned that your fund is closed. Congratulations, that's excellent. But to the extent that you're also incubating 30 startups over the course of your fund, I was wondering what opportunities and structures are in place to project, promote, introduce these companies to foreign investment over the lifetime of that incubation.
Okay, thanks, Max. Yeah, as I said, this first fund is closed. We are not decided if there is going to be a second soon. Probably will. I don't know how soon. but that doesn't mean that we are good enough. I mean, as I said, there's a huge need for specific philanthropic investments in the earlier stages of our pipeline. So I believe there's much more demand for good impact businesses in the Amazon than supply these days. And there are many problems around that, because many of these demand side institutions like investment funds, they build their thesis without validating their investment thesis in the region. But that's another discussion. If you want to collaborate, I would be happy to discuss with you, because there are two good entry points. One is helping us to support institutions that are preparing entrepreneurs and businesses on the ground. And there are many, like ISA, ICV, Lima Flora, Conexus, many NGOs and others that I won't list here. They are doing a good work in preparing their businesses, community-based businesses and others. And the other side is that, as I said, when after the 6-month period that the businesses are accelerated at Amaz, we will look for investors to engage and invest in these businesses and buy us out. So there's a good opportunity and there we'll be looking for investors that are willing to invest like 200,000, 500,000, or $1 million up. So I would be more happy to discuss and interact.
Thanks.
Great, David.
Thank you, Jonah, and thank you, Mariano. It's really good to see you again. Congratulations on this amazing initiative. It's been really wonderful to follow your career and see this wonderful next step that you're taking. I really appreciated what you said earlier about the need for, especially communities that are managing their own businesses, to be given some flexibility and a little bit of the non-traditional approach, and be open, and some flexibility from funders to be open to that. And I'm just wondering if you're seeing people on the funding side being open to that. And just for the record, I work with Niatero, which is an organization that works alongside and partners with indigenous peoples in fulfilling their own self-determined vision for their territories. So thanks, Mariano.
Hi, David. Good to see you. Long time. And I just spoke with John 2 weeks ago, and he was looking for this type of creative approaches for fostering indigenous enterprises and sustainable businesses. So,
and hence my question is not a surprise to you at all then.
Yeah, but I didn't have an answer to him. I put him in touch with one of one of the startups that we invested in the acceleration program was Tucum, and they are providing a very interesting approach. They provide a combination of capacity building, of course, there's need a capacity building, or prussification. So they work with indigenous art craft or artisans. I forgot how to translate into English. As crafters, and they do capacity building. They help them to put a price in their products. They improve their quality. So it's a capacity building both in quality, in product quality, and in management. And then they offer there's a grade that the associations can climb. And in the latest stage, they offer a marketing platform. So as an e-commerce marketing platform, where they start buying products from the associations and selling at a very good price, a fair trade price, whatever, and then sell to final consumers. But at the latest stage, when the community is ready, they open a small kind of a shop. They have a platform where they have an online platform where the communities open their own store inside the platform, and it's managed by their own association. So what Tucum provides is not more capital for building stock or whatever. So they offer a service. So they play the same role as an Amazon or so indigenous Amazon, real Amazon, or a Mercado Livre, whatever. So that's a very interesting model. And about there are others. I probably wouldn't have I won't spend much talking about others, but in terms of the funders, there is an increasing, surprisingly, there is an increasing, at least in my network, willingness of funders to think differently. So it's, in terms of the approach, I think the mindset that needs to change a little bit more is the term, because the funders keep providing grants as a 1 year or 2 years. And that's for a long-term view of strengthening a community-based businesses. It's too short. So anyway, it's changing a lot. We can start with USAID, which is probably, it was a good surprise for us, because USAID here in Brazil, when started funding the PPA, was very, very innovative and took a willingness to accept risk in supporting a program that would invest in small businesses that many private institutions in Brazil never did. So I feel, and was very flexible for us as a network to build our own approach as we grow. So it was not all planned since the beginning. Sometimes we need to adapt during the journey. So I think there is an increasing movement of change in many institutions.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Great. We're reaching the top of the hour and we have 3 people to ask questions. So I'm going to ask them each to go real brief, and then Mariana can reply to all 3 at once. So Mariana, get your pen and paper ready. You're probably going to be asked more than you're able to hold in your mind in 1 moment. So first up is Raissa, and then John Bruno, and then Linda People. Raissa.
Okay, thanks, Jonah. Well, hi, Mariano. It's nice to meet you. I'm here representing ICLEI today. I think usually Giovanna is here. But I was just wondering, like, here we're all the time looking at local governments and how we can also link their needs with the private initiatives. So I'm wondering if among these startups in your program, do you see any interest or any focused startup on B2G governments, or any link that exists between the innovation and local governments in Amazon?
Okay, great. Next, John Bruno.
Hi, sorry, my camera's not working. I'm John Bruno from the International Ecotourism Society. I just wanted to say really quickly that, as other people have pointed out on this call, there is a disconnect between large-scale, low-granularity funders and what's needed on the ground. And are you seeing, our focus is tourism, and you mentioned it specifically, how it has to be evaluated differently, especially when it's community-based ecotourism. Are you seeing the development of a common vocabulary that we can all use to ask ourselves what kind of impact we're having and demonstrate that to the upstream funders? Thank you.
Great, excellent questions. And then next, Linda People. Lynn, I think you might be on mute.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
I really, it's nice to be at this talk. I really appreciate being here. Mariano, I really appreciate getting to know you. I'm really excited to learn more about your projects. I would love to understand better the ecosystem providers that you use, even on the business level, accounting, business people, manufacturers, just the normal things that early stage businesses across all types would really need to get the help that they need. Who helps the entrepreneurs or leaders get the coaching they need? I'm curious if there's not just a bottleneck in funding, but just a bottleneck in capability to do what you want to do. Thank you.
Great, take it away, Mariano. 3 great questions.
Right, so first to Raissa. No, Raissa, I haven't crossed many B2G startups, probably because we are not looking much into this space. Our focus is 100% into the rural or the forest areas of the Amazon, on the forest territories of the Amazon. So most of the governments are more dedicated to cities, and we're not looking at that space. But probably there are. I mean, I've been seeing great projects coming in from startups that are trying to support the governments, but I don't have many in my mind right now. Then to John, I'm not specialist, John, in tourism, and I don't know, unfortunately, don't know if there's any common tool, if that was your question, for evaluating community-based tourism projects. If you ever know one, that would be very useful for us. So what we're doing is doing case by case and adapting our own monitoring evaluation frameworks to tourism projects in the same way we do for the other ones. And then to Lynn, so we have two ways of supporting the projects, the startups in our portfolio. One is providing free service from our our group of partner institutions. So we have partners in the program. Our team, our staff at Amaz, at IDESAM, we don't provide many of the supports that the entrepreneurs need. So, for example, we have a specialized office for legal situations or legal services, like to draft contracts, to support modifying legal constituency documents, or to support negotiations for our startups. So all of that is provided by our partner, which is our office that is dedicated to impact businesses in São Paulo. Then we have another one in Manaus that is very good in tax and is an accounting office. So again, when one of our startups has a problem with taxes or anything related to their accounting, we offer for free. It's not charged to any of the startups the services, the consultancy services of our associated accounting product, and the same goes with marketing, with communication. So we have a group of specialized firms that support these businesses in whatever they need. And then we have another component, which is the volunteer mentoring. So we have not a portfolio, but we have a list of mentors that have volunteered to support the development of the businesses in specific teams. And that's one lesson that we learned in the past, that it's better to have, instead of having a super mentor that can support the businesses in whatever they need, it's better to understand what exactly do you need when you go to the enterprise. Okay, I have this huge problem right now, because the needs of the businesses, they change across the years. So in 1 year they may have a problem with supply, the other year with marketing. So what we do is we have a group of mentors specializing in some teams, and when we understand well with the entrepreneur what exactly he needs, and then we try to we do the match with our database and offer a mentor for him for a short period of like 3 months, 4 months. What we learned in the past, that you should solve the problem in 3 or 4 months. If it remains for 6 or 8, then it's a deeper problem that you got to change the structure of your business. I hope I answered all the questions.
Thank you so much. I think you did a great job. Thank you so much for joining us. I think on behalf of all the call participants, we're super grateful for your time. It is the top of the hour. You're certainly welcome to go or to stick around if you want. I have a feeling that a couple other people might have questions or might want to exchange messages with you privately. I invite everybody to post their email addresses, their phone numbers, or whatever, your WhatsApp if you communicate primarily that way, your LinkedIn IDs. The session is open. And thanks, Mariano.
Thanks, Jonah, and thanks to all. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay more, but I hope you have a great follow-up discussions, and I think you all have my contacts. I will be more than happy to have one-on-one conversations.
Great. Can I post your email address?
Yes, sure, please.
Oh,
And
okay,
bye-bye.
great. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mariano. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.
In case it wasn't posted earlier, there's Mariana's email address.
Thank you so much, Jonah. Always such wisdom. Wow.
My pleasure. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm just looking now through the people introducing themselves. Wow, what an exciting group of people. Lots of new
Jonah,
people.
I was unable to, I got kicked out from internet. Could you possibly send me the chat if that's possible?
Yeah.
That would be great, because yes, there are amazing people, and some new ones that we are all happy to have in there and keep the continuing cultivation. I had at one point, I wanted to check in with you also. How are we about bringing some more people in? Are we open for, what is our philosophy? I hear John's here. I know that we have Jorge. I just wanted to make sure how is our philosophy on cultivating new LinkedIn members in that whole cycle.
Yeah. I'll answer that, but I'll do it off the record. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay, beautiful. Well, no, that's all.